Hello, everyone. Welcome to Queer Lawyers Speak, hosted by LAGBAC, Chicago's LGBTQ plus bar association. My name is Adam Zebelian. I'm a partner at Schiller, DeCanto, and Fleck, where I practice family law. I'm also the current president of LAGBAC, Chicago's LGBTQ plus bar association. And with me today are two fellow board members, Deidre Baumann and Phillip Rutherford. Both of whom own their own law firms and are solo practitioners. So Deidre, why don't you tell us, what is a solo practitioner?
Oh boy, a solo practitioner is an attorney who is responsible for every aspect of the practice. So it's the research, the writing, the court appearances, but also maintaining, your financial stability, advertising, soup to nuts.
You are the law firm then?
I am the law firm.
Okay.
I had a partner at one point, but he passed away, and I decided to continue on my own.
And your law firm's name is?
Baumann and Schuldner.
Your last name and your former partner's name?
Yes.
Okay. And what areas of the law do you practice?
So I practice civil rights, employment discrimination, personal injury, both state and federal trial litigation and appellate litigation.
Okay.
I have practiced before the Illinois Supreme Court. I'm licensed to practice before the U.S. Supreme Court. So I do a wide variety of work.
You'll even take criminal cases.
I do. A lot of the criminal cases I take actually are on a pro bono basis because I started out in the public defender's office, and I really enjoy criminal defense work. So I do take not super serious cases such as murder and so forth, but yes, I do enjoy criminal defense.
And Phillip, what area do you practice in?
So I primarily do divorce and child custody work, but I also do adoption, guardianship, and we do some estate planning as well. And similarly to Deidre, I actually got my start doing pro bono adoption and guardianship work, which is how I kind of taught myself the practice and moved into more fully doing it on my own.
And what's your law firm called?
Rutherford Law PC, so it's my last name.
Okay.
Yep.
And it's just you, or do you have a partner?
So it's just me, but I would say I'm what I would consider a modern law firm. So there's a lot of ways to get assistance with admin type tasks, attorney type tasks as well, that still allow me to be what I would call a modern solo practitioner, but have assistance with the work that I need, but still be in control of kind of the direction of the firm as well. But it's long story short, it is just me as the attorney. Yes, I'm the primary.
All right. And child custody, divorce, that's all under the umbrella of family law.
Yes, and I would argue that everything else kind of falls under that umbrella as well. I think the court just kind of splits it up. But one of the interesting things that I like about the practice of family law, and I'm sure you understand this as well, is the clients that we work with live very interesting lives, and so just figuring out how they live, the types of employment they have, assets they have, and learning how to split those things up. I think you learn just a lot about a lot of different things. I learned about retirement plans, stocks, all kinds of things that, come across my desk because my clients are different kinds of people.
Mental health issues.
That's
school litigation law, you kind of see everything.
Everything, yep.
And Deidre, you do family law as well.
I try not to. Honestly, I try not to. I certainly have done some family law. I've done some guardianship. As Phillip mentioned, while you can focus your practice on, in different areas, really, once you have developed your client base, your clients come to you with all types of problems. And family law issues are a very common problem that comes up. Unfortunately, criminal issues also come up and things of that nature. So yes, I do. I have practiced some family law, but I really enjoy the employment discrimination and civil rights work I do. So I do try to focus on that. And to touch on something Phillip also said, it's very important for a solo practitioner to have other people you can refer cases to, and you can share ideas, share information. You have to stay up to date on the law. So it's very important in this more modern world. We now have listservs and
Zoom
court and all of this.
Yeah.
The information is really much more accessible than it used to be. So I think as a solo practitioner, I can actually now produce work that a large firm would be able to produce just because of the technological advances, which have made things a lot quicker and automated in some respects. So that's been really interesting. That's been an interesting change. And then I remember when I started, and I've been practicing 31 years, so take that to context. Okay, you guys are young. But I used to go into the library and sit there with stacks of books and go through that. And we would shepherdize things manually, with publications. And
Which is to check cases.
to check cases and make sure your cases are all up to date and current and still good law. And now, you don't pick up a book. Everything is online. Everything is immediately accessible. So in that way, law has really changed, and I think for much for the better for us.
Yes.
When I left the state's attorney's office in 2017 and went into private practice, our law firm would hand out books, the domestic relations, the statutes that apply to family law, domestic relations law. They don't do that anymore. The young lawyers don't get any books, which is a benefit really to the firm because it's less expensive. Those books are very expensive, but it's just a different era, totally. So a lot of the audience members are not lawyers or in the legal profession. You are a civil rights lawyer.
I am.
So what does that mean exactly?
Oh, that means I represent people who have been wronged primarily by the government. So I take police cases. I filed suit against DCFS, against the federal government, against the sheriff's office, mainly public actors who have wronged individuals in a variety of contexts, and arising out of it. So we have statutory authority that conveys certain rights, and we also have constitutional authority that conveys rights as well. And those are the types of cases that I like to focus on. So I mentioned police cases. In the employment discrimination arena, that is not only public, but that there are statutes for private discrimination as well at both the state and federal levels. So discrimination based on race, age, sexual orientation, gender, religion, anything that's considered a suspect classification, which is the most protected right under our Constitution.
Okay. So I'm sure very rewarding work.
It is.
Family law is also rewarding. But
I have no doubt.
So Phillip, what brought you to the law and what brought you to family law?
So prior to law school, actually since probably high school, I've always done work with, I'd say, communities, families, and young people. And that, in high school, I volunteered at a community center that served, a certain population, and lots of lessons learned about, life there. What I did post-graduating college is I worked at the University of Michigan, and we basically had
Where you went, too.
Yes, I'm sorry, and I also went to the University of
We
Michigan.
excuse you for that. That's
Yeah,
okay.
it's
As a
okay.
Spartan,
Go Blue!
yeah.
And so at the University of Michigan, I worked on a program called Gear Up, which was basically getting high school students interested and excited about post-secondary educational options, and not just going to college, but trade schools and other like programs. So in doing that kind of work, realizing that here we are trying to address barriers to education, what is really happening are kind of family problems. So your kid can't ace a math class he can't get to because his mom leaves at 7 in the morning. He's the person responsible for getting a brother to school. So you learn a lot of other kind of things like that. And I think knowing that I wanted to be in charge of my time, so to speak, and then knowing that law lent itself really well to doing this. Like I can file a pleading and actually affect someone's life. So that was a power that I felt like I had. And it's relatively easy to hang a shingle. Now maintaining the shingle is the thing, but it was relatively easy to get into it. And
Start your own law firm.
Yeah, I'm sorry, start your own law firm.
Which is called hanging
your shingle.
Yeah.
Hanging an e-shingle. So I think that all of those experiences just came together, and law worked really well at melding those things.
Family law in particular.
Family law in particular.
What is so interesting with the three of us here, and maybe this is self-grandizing because I'm also a family law practitioner, but family law, civil rights, plaintiff's work, employment law, you are directly dealing with clients, which some lawyers want very little to do with, but lawyers like us, we enjoy it.
Yes.
Yes.
It can be stressful, but you really are impacting people's lives, and for the better. You're helping them.
Absolutely.
And many lawyers can't say that work with corporations or do tax. I mean, sometimes.
Hey now.
I don't want to hate on any lawyers, but
That's absolutely right. I knew from an early age that I wanted to be a lawyer. Why did I want to be a lawyer? Because I looked at it as a career where you could actually make an impact. You could actually help people. And I love to read. I love to write. And so I knew that that's what I wanted to do, to help people. And so that's why I went into the area of law that I did go into. But you're absolutely right. It's very people-focused. Yeah. People are, I don't want to say at their worst, but sometimes they are when they're going through a family situation, in employment, termination, a battery or worse by police officers. These are...
Or charged with a crime.
These are really, really difficult
Wrongly
times.
charged with the crime, because you handle that as well.
I do. I do. Yeah, so it's, people are really depending on you, and so I give you both kudos for what you do in family law, because I know it's very, very difficult sometimes.
And we give you kudos for what you do as
Thank
well.
you.
I would also say that the lawyers that have kind of this more direct client contact, in addition to explaining what the law is, kind of what the situation is, this idea of being a counselor to people as well. And I think family law lends itself really well to this, that this is kind of what the client is dealing with, but as the lawyer, I'm thinking this big and trying to say, let's stop you from ever having to come back to court or in the situation again. So I think that's another thing I appreciate about my job, is that I can be honest with people while being helpful.
You're counseling them. That's why we're called counselors.
Absolutely.
We're counseling them through this process and how to not get themselves sometimes in the situation again,
That's right.
So, Deidre, you were the president of Decalogue.
Correct.
And Decalogue, I just found out today, is the oldest Jewish bar association in the country. Is that right?
It is.
Celebrating its 90th
Correct.
anniversary.
Correct.
And you were how long ago were you president?
Oh, don't ask that. It's been a while, but I am still involved, and I'm currently on the Decalogue, the board of the Decalogue Foundation, which is our scholarship arm and money raising and so forth.
And you serve on the LAGBAC board and have for a number of years.
Correct.
We got on it at about the same time. So close to at least 8 years now, I think.
Wow. See, time it just flies by. So yeah, it's been a while, and I'm currently secretary and
To the LAGBAC
to
board.
the LAGBAC board, and I've loved my service on the board. It's a group of really wonderful people who I can feel comfortable with and working with and socializing with and so forth. So yes, the board is a wonderful thing. Now, taking you back in history a little bit, when I was earlier in my career, LAGBAC was the Lesbian and Gay Bar Association, which I always felt was very exclusive. It did not include all the other
Communities within our community.
within
yeah.
our community.
Right.
Exactly. Thank you for, and I'm bisexual, so
You're the B in the
I am the
LGBTQ.
B, and so I did feel excluded for many years. And as times have changed, as I met more people in the organization, I really felt drawn and felt that, yeah, this is a group I can be included among, and I can be comfortable among. So it's very important.
And it was before I think you got on the board, we changed the name. We kept LAGBAC because so many people know it for its acronym.
Right.
But it's now LAGBAC, Chicago's LGBTQ plus Bar Association.
Right. Right. And
You were on the board. We did that.
We did.
We were
Oh,
on
yeah.
the board together when we
Yeah,
did that.
and I that's critically important. And I also have served as co-chair with Azar on the diversity committee, and we really have been trying to be the most inclusive that we can be as an organization, and that includes allies. So we're moving forward, and I'm proud of that. And it really shows how far we've come. As I said, things were different back then, and now our younger law students and our young lawyers are much freer, much more open with who they are and how they identify.
And Phillip, you recently got on the board.
Yes.
About 2 years ago?
Year and a half, 2
Year
years
and a
ago.
half. What drew you to LAGBAC?
So I joined LAGBAC as a student member my first, my 1L year of law school. And at that time, I did not know any queer lawyers, judges, or I didn't know anyone else in the profession in that way. So I think that I joined LAGBAC to be around other, queer members of this profession, and just in being a student member, meeting everyone, kind of realizing how big the membership is, the positions and jobs that lots of different members hold, or lots of different queer members hold, has really just inspired me. So it's just an organization that I've stayed involved with since being a student member, just because, it's a community.
And you went to Kent.
I did.
Okay. So you've been in Chicago a while now.
Yeah, since 2010.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. When did you graduate law school?
14.
Oh.
13, end of 13, December 13.
So he's younger than all.
Yes.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm going to give a shout out to University of Illinois Champaign-Urbana, which is where I went to undergrad and to law school.
Ah,
And
okay.
I graduated in '92 from law school.
So Well, you don't look it. That's the important
thank you.
part. So what was your path out of law school?
Well, while I was in law school, I helped develop the public interest law initiative there, and I clerked for the appellate defender, I think my first year, after my first year of law school.
And the appellate defender is the appellate division of the public defender's office. So for
Exactly.
people that can't afford their own lawyer, they can't afford a lawyer for an appeal, the appellate defender takes their
Exactly,
appeal.
comes in. So I was really looking to join either a public interest agency or the public defender, and I interviewed at various public defender offices after law school in Washington, D.C. and New York. I did work as a 7-Eleven while I was waiting for my license for the Cook County Public Defender's Office, and I was so fortunate I was assigned to the felony division, and out of the box, of course, under the guidance of senior attorneys.
And Rule 711 allows you to stand up in court with the supervision of a lawyer while you're in law school.
Exactly. And so that was a fantastic experience, but at that time there was a hiring freeze. So they were not hiring anyone. I needed a job. I found a firm that really suited me very well doing First Amendment constitutional law, primarily federal, instant litigation experience, and I took that. Now I was ultimately offered a job at the public defender's office. I decided, because I had committed to this firm, that I would stay. In retrospect, I don't know if that was the right decision, but as you mentioned, I continue to do criminal defense work, so I am able to continue to do that. And for many years, I was on the appellate panel for the appellate defender, so I was doing briefs and so forth.
Being appointed?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Wow.
Correct.
So does the appellate defender, they outsource some of their appeals?
At various times they do. They do. And, as a solo practitioner, really, as any law firm, you can put in an application or, apply to be on a panel. And as the cases come in, you're assigned the case.
Okay. All right. So being a queer individual, let's give this question to Phillip.
Okay.
Being a queer individual, how did that impact, if at all, your decision to go into the law?
I think for me, and this tied in a little bit to my own coming out process, is that I realized that at the end of the day, like, my idea of what a lawyer did was kind of represented zealously people's interests, stood up for other people. And I guess I thought to myself that, as part of my coming out process, that I was on this path to go ahead and stand up for other people, and I really needed to do that for myself as well. So I came out, and my kind of journey into law, I think, is tied in with that as well.
And you met your current partner when you were in college.
Yes.
So you two have been together a long time.
Yeah. It's a long time, yep. He also he didn't go to law school, but he also went to law school as well.
He suffered through it.
Suffered through it, yep. Yep.
Deidre, same question. How did being a queer individual impact your decision, if at all, to go to law school and pursue a legal career?
I don't think it, directly did, but knowing that you're different and that you empathize, you understand what people go through when they are different. And that, I think, has influenced me throughout. As I said, I knew I wanted to be a lawyer to help people, to make a difference, to make a change. But deep down inside, that came, I'm sure, in part from who I am.
Yeah.
And I always say this, the best lawyers are open-minded. And to be able to accept yourself, knowing that you're different, and being able to embrace that and be open about it, you have to have an open mind about yourself. So I think it lends itself, that conditioning is good for being a lawyer, because you're not going to be a very good lawyer if you have any bias toward whatever situation there is, because you have to look at it objectively for your client. I'm not calling you old, but it was a different time. It was a different time than
that's much
when I
Yes.
graduated law school and when Phillip graduated law school. What type of things did you see right out of law school that you don't see anymore? And I know that things are different in Chicago than the rest of the country, but
When I got out of law school, I went into the boutique firm doing First Amendment law, for example. We were largely in federal court. We were largely in Chancery Court in the Circuit Court of Cook County. And there were no women. There were, or I shouldn't say no women, but there were very few women. So you would go into court, and I would go into court and be one of the very few women actually presenting cases before the court, trying cases before the court. So things have really, really changed in that regard. I think we're still behind in terms of the representation for women and for other people, other races, other ethnicities, and our community as well.
Phillip, same question. When you graduated back in 2013, have you seen a progression or a difference between when you entered a courtroom back then and now?
The biggest difference is I enter lots of virtual courtrooms, so we don't do very much. But I would say I was fortunate because I graduated and started in family and divorce law right as the law started to change a little bit around that, and then also being
with the passage of civil unions in Illinois, and then Obergefell, which.
And then also with the pandemic, being a lawyer that went to school with like a laptop, for instance, like that in itself changed for me the practice of family law and enabled me, I think, to do more court appearances or be more efficient, like with my time and produce, like you said, the same, big firm results with less resources.
Well, very good. Well, thank you so much to the both of you, and thank you to all of you. I would like to take these last few moments here to recognize retired Judge Patricia Logue, who passed away last week. She was one of the founders of LAGBAC and one of the founders of the Queer Judicial Association here in Illinois, the Alliance of Illinois Judges. She also was among many things she did, to advance LGBTQ+ rights in Illinois and the country. She was one of the leading lawyers that was on the legal team that in Lawrence v. Texas, which was the Supreme Court opinion, in which the Supreme Court found that sodomy laws were unconstitutional. She was a true hero to all of us in our community, is thinking of her family at this time, and we will ensure that her memory and her good work lives on. So thank you very much.
Thank you.